Getting to make a part 2 and seeing how my previous analyses held up is always the best part about making these kinds of videos. Not only do we have a fully fledged, unhinged fight scene where Purple can go full out without emotions holding him back, we also get to see him having fun while fighting. So coming from Animation vs Minecraft episode 39, welcome to How Strong is Purple Part 2, featuring the new scenes. And let me tell you, I am excited because we finally get to see Purple in different fighting environments. Please see the first video for a breakdown of Purple's fighting style because I'll be referencing a lot of the points I made from there. But without further ado, let's begin. Purple's fighting style is primarily strength-based, focusing on brawler-style punches that have references to Street Fighter styles. But in AVM39, we see him develop another kind of style when using a sword. His weapon-wielding style is what I think is a mix between orange and greens. Purple's sword-wielding style is about spinning momentum, where you use circular motion to drag the sword around your body to keep its momentum while swinging. This makes it so that you can swap directions quickly given you're doing one complete motion, and the stress of the swing isn't just on your arms, but on your whole torso. Notice how Purple has a lot of circular movements, and this will be important later. Compared to how the Color Gang fights, where it's just one movement slashes, Purple actually continues the whole slash around his body. Not only does this protect him omnidirectionally, this keeps him in perpetual motion so that when he does land, the hit's power is still maintained. Another maneuver that he does is that he utilizes kicks in order to get a higher vantage point. He uses kicks to try and climb over an enemy, something he actually does with orange and red. Another part of Purple's fighting style is the elevation usage. Purple tends to hang or jump on top of an enemy or a wall to get better elevation. This is most likely a translation to how he normally fights with heights. Purple also doesn't dodge, but he parries, something that's not completely common with the other sticks. Most of the time, parrying is reserved as a secondary defense compared to dodging, but Purple, winged or otherwise, rarely actually dodges hits. Speaking of projectiles, I don't know why, but seeing Purple with a dart blower makes me really happy. I always forget they have mouths. Purple also shows in this scene that he's pretty good with the bow. Do the arrows hit? No idea. Purple also gets a feature of a full flight fight scene where we see that he doesn't use flight to exclusively dodge, but he uses it to attack omnidirectionally, especially when you're against an enemy that uses a shield. His flight directly pairs well with his very direct fighting style, as opposed to him kiting opponents, which you think you would do if you have elevation. Instead, what he tries to do is to get to another vantage point or to another side of an enemy, either by rolling under them or flying over them. Not a lot of the Color Gang actually do this. Most of the time, they only fight on one side. Even Blue during his Bed Wars scene, and Green that was moving around in AVM 37, you notice that they only directly go for the front of an enemy. Rarely do they actually try to flank. But the flight patterns that Purple takes actually shows well how good he is when it comes to direct attacks, because he uses the flight as a propeller. This includes lunges and overhead strikes. Actually, piercing lunges are pretty unique to Purple. Everyone else uses the long side of the blade when fighting. Purple's maneuvers here during the fight include him jabbing through the shield with smaller strikes before swooping to the other side to deliver a stronger lunge. When that's enough to get the player off balance, he switches to the long side of the blade. Then, we see him lunge again to break the player's balance. When he's back in the air, he keeps the flurry of attacks and maintains a curved trajectory, making it hard for the guy to hit him back. I also like that he throws the sword around and eventually grabs the guy and throws him down. Then we see him finish the fight off with the sword straight to the top of the player's head. When you observe how he fights here, it's actually a great culmination of all of his previous fighting styles evolved from the past. His lunge style parallels well with how he dealt with the Enderman and the Blazes in Speedrun. His grappling technique mirrors well with how he fights Red and Orange in Ultimate Weapon by grabbing them when they're wide open. Him flying around in curves mirrors how he moves in AVM 37, and even the general distance building is something that we've seen from him before, which is why I think that, besides being cool fight choreography, this scene is unapologetically Purple. Also, I really like that he's the kind of guy that just loves different kinds of weapons and ancient artifacts. Seems like something he would do, not gonna lie. One of my favorite developments for Purple's fighting style is that a lot of his previous weaknesses were because he was caught off guard or he didn't have the needed defenses or reaction time to actually go into prolonged fights with the rest of the color gang. He had to fight in large but inconsistent bursts, and he was constantly disengaging. Green was much faster, and Purple was either too racked up with guilt to fight back, or genuinely couldn't fight back, or both. But this time, Purple takes what he lacked in both of those fights. His downtime between attacks is much shorter, and you can tell that he is here to win and to protect. However, it's not perfect, and we do see that his style of fighting leaves him with the same openings as he did in the past. It's a fighting style that requires a lot of defensive adjustment, because if you're constantly diving for an opponent, it's only a matter of time before they grab you in the face. Purple's only actual defenses is distance with flight. Parrying is exclusively done to projectiles. Nevertheless, in my opinion, that's what makes fighting styles in Alan Becker really well executed. They themselves become their own unique form of storytelling, even if they're so hidden in the background. Now, in terms of general character, Purple is genuinely reckless and isn't afraid of getting himself in wild situations, even with the threat of permadeath. Which, good for you, I guess, Purple? Actually, I think he's yellow levels of reckless. Red's curious, but straight up throwing a bucket of water in a place filled with elevation is just testing some sort of deity at this point. Purple is also a natural looter, much like how he was looting around for the Elytra and how his story bits are basically him stealing from the color gang. We see that he's a natural dungeon delver. What's also endearing about Purple's development throughout the series is that fighting became recontextualized from his past experiences, rather than a proof of loyalty or something that he has to do to gain someone else's favor. Fighting is now something celebrated and appreciated, either as a pastime or as a way to connect with others. We see how elated he is to involve himself in the new world with a profound curiosity and wonder that was only ever hinted at the past episodes with the Nether and the villagers. Purple was always, in his own way, a wanderer by heart who adventures and enjoys interacting with the world. And last but not the least, I love how the prove yourself motif for Purple, something that has been plaguing his previous iterations, comes back full circle. But now, it doesn't have the undertones of prove yourself or you're worthless. It's prove yourself, because you must protect people you hold dear. Anyway, that's it for me today. I'll get to the king part, but I really wanted to talk about Purple because this episode fed us really well. I'm Mushi, and that has been How Strong is Purple Part 2. If you want to see the full series, check out the playlist down here.